Hello! This might seem like an odd camera angle, but it's because I'm going to be building this thing. It's an InfiniKit chest of drawers. I'll initially say the box says 15 plus kilos. I'm pretty used to hefting around 15 kilo bags of feed and things for the animals. This thing weighs far more than 15 kilos. It's very dense. It's obviously wood and fibre inside. So we'll just have a quick look. So this is how the packaging arrives, okay? You can immediately see the weight warning. It weighs a lot more than that. The problem I've got is that it's come bashed. There's a hole there. I can see the wood in there, look. I can put my finger right in. It arrived like this. This is torn, been battered, bashed down here. The big scratch and bang there, another big scratch and bang there. So, and it also says keep it that way up. Well, how could you possibly keep this package that way up? It weighs too much and is too awkward a shape. So, has anything inside been damaged? Unfortunately, I can't film the construction very well. We're going to take some stills. We've already been making space for it. We'll go from there. Okay, we've got the package open now. I have two assistants. There's one there and there's one here. It's actually quite well packed. These are really sturdy polystyrene blocks holding it in place. The other piece of packaging is things for like the metal runners, comes quite nicely bagged. That's quite a hefty bag. But the first impression is that this is not as golden as that picture is. It's just not as golden. It's more a sort of, I don't know, a bleached wood effect or a sort of, yeah, an antiquing effect. But it's nice.
Fashionable.
Yeah, fashionable. So we'll pick up we're at another step now. We're going to start building a drawer. But the interesting thing is the pack comes with 2 sets of wood glue. You don't have to provide them yourself. And my assistant is teaching my other 4-legged assistant how to eat pieces of the pack. So everything comes quite nicely documented. It is just a bag of pieces. But yeah, I'm interested that you need the wood glue. It's making it a slightly higher quality than other brands would give you no glue. We've had the first strangeness of the day. Take a look at this. Can you see this? This is how you put together the drawers, okay? And it does show, I will admit, it does show the prongs going into the rear piece. But the first piece is, it says prepare both ends, and that looks quite short. It looks that short. It looks like this piece, which has got holes in this end and that end for the prongs. But it doesn't mean that piece. It means that piece. That piece. So instead of actually distinguishing by pointing out this trough, they don't. So I've managed to put them in the smaller piece, and then I've been utterly baffled because this has got holes drilled here and here. You see? They're on this edge as well as this end. So I'm now going to pull those out. So here they are, all 3 dowels in that end. But this one has got me really worried. Look how close this is. First of all, to this pre-cut hole. So there's not a lot of fabric to the one side. And the opposite side, it comes into this runner. And as I've pushed that dowel in, all the glue has come out of this through this fibre. I don't think that's going to last very long. That's, you know, the main rear of an opening drawer, say, where it's going to hit the stopper every time you put it in. Not impressed with that piece. Right, and now I've got the first corner in. Well, I've actually pushed my weight onto this. If I actually show you what I've done, I've eased it in position, and you just cannot get this level. You can see there's a gap at the top, it's flush in the centre, there's a gap at the bottom. So on the inside, it's a really nice fit. On the outside, it's just a gap. Okay, on this edge we've got a nice inlay for the drawer base, but this one, the long edge, it's not so good. It's not so clearly defined. And if that's intentional, you can see it from here, how nice that cut is, and then how not so nice that one is. We shall see. Righto, we finished the 3 drawers. And what we've come to the conclusion is that the tolerances on each corner are such that they aren't going to last long. You're going to pull these off Hence, I think, why they provide the glue. But even now, I've just pressed on that, and I'm a big fella, look. Look how one end's in and the other end isn't. The tolerances are terrible. Even the actual dowels going into the holes. This is a machined process, but the dowels go in at different heights. You can hammer them in, and they go in at different heights. If I push this now together, it doesn't want to move. Not that good, I'll be honest, not that good on the construction. But all 3 drawers are now done. Let's assemble the body. Okay, the previous point I've just made about the sort of bad fitting of the drawers is sort of followed up in the next step. Turning the page, the next step of instructions is to insert these triangular blocks and screw them into the base forward piece of the drawers, clearly to give them a bit more stability. So one would push them in here, centre from, and then hopefully you're screwing them in and they're not coming through the front. But that does now give that a bit of sort of, you know, rigidity. But this is still really badly fitting. Why overcome the badly fitting of this? If the jig was that bad cutting these drawers, why, you know, block over it? So each drawer now needs one of those. Let's continue. Right, here we are 15 minutes later, and this is the side panel that we see. And I'm not entirely happy with this part of the instructions. So they say make sure you're 1 notch in, but do I trust it? Either way, they're the rollers. You've got to insert these dowels and pegs, but the other half is here. So I've already pre-assembled this as per the instructions. This bit was quite interesting. These have all got little labels on them that say 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, and it helps you put them where you need them. All the parts may well have had those numbers on them, but they weren't always obvious. It wasn't obvious until about this page I realised, oh, there are slight differences in these pieces. So that was interesting to see. As you can also see, these are vertically mounted. I've used the wood glue, and these dowels went in a lot easier. They were a lot bigger than the ones for the drawer. I will now try and get everything together. So I've got to put all these pieces in ready. And once we've done that, I think I slide it all together. But yeah, this part of the instructions. So look by eye, make sure you get the second hole. It doesn't build confidence in you, and the next time you see the slides, they're just in place. They're just there. So not reinforcing anyone's working on it. It is also a lot easier to work out what these little anchors are. They're plastic. It's not obvious from this. They're the little plastic nipple things that are here. They are tiny little things that you drive into the wood first and then screw the rails onto. So fair enough. I have noticed that there are spare parts for whatever purpose. It's not been made clear yet what purpose that is, but we shall see. Okay, I am now 90% the way through assembly of the base. This is the top left-hand corner, and as you can see, the laminate is not affixed. I'm going to try and stick it down with some of their provided wood glue, the little that I have left, but this is not a good sign, is it? It's just not a brilliant thing. Okay, we're getting close to final assembly. So this is the first drawer in, the top is on, it's all in place. The loose laminate that we just pictured is actually here. It's not that noticeable once it's together, but it is a shame. However, in constructing the frame, just here, I've noticed that the dowel has gone in. It doesn't go into the actual socket it's been cut for it, so it protruded a bit too far than it should have. And what's happened is it's actually pushed the laminate off the side here. So I've actually pulled that bucket apart, taken a shave off the dowel with a hand knife, and then pushed it back together, and then had to glue this laminate back down because it bulged out. So it's all part of this tolerance thing. At this price point, you want it to be fitting and fitting perfectly, but unfortunately, it's just a little off. So here's the next drawer going to go in. When it's all together, we'll flip it on its back and put the rear on, and we'll just talk part of the fully assembled item. And you can see this lack of sort of fitting. Look at the daylight through the gap there. This has been hammered into place, remember. Some of those marks you see down there are actually the glue trying to hold it in place, and this is just after pushing the drawer in place once. So you've got the same here, a bit of gap. It fits nice and snugly on the left side, but here on the right, it's not fantastic. For this price point, I'd like this to fit a lot better, certainly be fitted a lot more easily. Right, we're finished. These are the 3 drawers in position. Create them first. So you'll see one of the labels for the numbers. Do take note of them. They're important when you're getting things on the back side doing, and these horizontal bars are quite important. But the thing that's not maybe the most obvious, okay, if we look at the instructions here, okay, see this? This is inserting the runners, and I got one backwards because you're not just being told to look at which hole the screw goes through, which is the second one in. You're being told to look at making sure these big circles, these big O's here, see them? These 2 O's, see them? They must be at the front for the drawer to connect. I actually got this one here wrong. It was upside down, so I have to take it off. It all does fit okay. The running is fairly nice. They do stop in place. As I say though, tolerances are over. This is the damaged piece of laminate up there. There's a damage on the other side where a dowel comes through if you don't take a little bit off it to make sure they're really flat. But when it's the only dowel in the only hole on the board, you don't know if you've got it in far enough, you know. And I was making sure they were in there pretty well before I just stood it up and did anything. It's always a good move as well. Once you've got all the glue, the dowels and bits and pieces, stand on the floor and push. They actually do say to do it on carpet. Obviously, I've done it in view on the bed, but it says don't do it on a hard floor because you will crack it. Do it on some carpet. And the reason, obviously, is it is best sometimes just to push things in place. Now, I'm a little bit confused. This is obviously the item itself is listed as. It's my screwdriver. The item is listed by InfiniKit and it's £64.09. I don't think that's worth £64.09. Now, it's heavy enough once you've got the top on, but they're describing 3 drawers and a shelf. The shelf is the top. They're going to supply it without a top. That's the weird thing about this. The parts are fine. There's actually extra pieces of nearly every piece, except maybe the drawer reinforcing lugs, these triangular lugs. They could do with maybe more of those, but there's one front, one rear on each drawer. They're okay. The dowels, not the best fit. Now, there are 2 sets of dowels. There's the big thick ones for the actual body, and there's the little thin ones for the drawer. The thin ones are worse. The other thing is they gave you those 2 tubes of glue, which I've got all over my hand. You need more. Get yourself a little tube of glue, wood glue, to make sure they stay together, because the only thing holding that on is those dowels on the front. And you know, I don't know. I don't think with hefty fingers and hands it's going to do it, especially since this is how you open it. The other thing is, if we just look carefully, can you see there's a dark line? That's actually the gap between this hole and this drawer. So it doesn't actually sit. Look, if you're high up, you can't see it. You really can't. It would let the drawers air properly and everything like that. So it's not a huge deal, but it's not a shuttered front. The rear is okay. Just nail on the piece of hardboard when you're done. Instructions, though, leave a little to be desired. You have to sort of be second guessing, and you don't do this horizontally. You have to do it stood up so that those fins are vertical to get everything lined up properly, and then rotate it and push everything into place, which is a bit of a pain. As a one-man job for myself. My assistant has departed the building right now. But we're done. I'm not overly impressed with the price point. I think if this was $45 or $35.99, you're looking more likely the price. I'll be honest, it's a bit over expensive, but it's all right. I am going to give it 3. I would like to give it 3.5. Okay, I'm knocking 1 off because it's a bit expensive. I'm knocking 1 off because the fit's not perfect. The fit is the problem. It doesn't give it that quality edge, which might be their jig work, it might be anything. So it's a little bit of damage, a little bit of it not fitting right, okay, and you know, making up the other one being lost. But I can't give it 2. I've got to say it's a 3, 3.5. It's not awful. But could I get better for this £64? I think I could, and it would come in my vehicle and wouldn't be damaged. The damage wasn't a problem. Just to explain, the hole in the box that I showed at the beginning was actually the underside of the top. So the underside of the top is the thing showing that face of the packet. So it didn't damage anything of any worth. It would have just scraped into a surface you don't see. But I don't know, everyone might not be packed the same way. I can't say. Packaging itself, pretty good. Cardboard, everything's in plastic where it needs to be. It's heavy duty plastic. These drawer runners are pre-oiled. You can feel the oil on them. Maybe do a little bit more, but it's no big deal. So you'll need wood glue to add, hammer, screwdriver, and super glue to fix the laminate that's loose. All in all, though, a solid 3 out of 5. It's not terrible. It's not fantastic, though. See you later.